Hey there, my wedding planning friends, and welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for clicking on my video. I'm Emily Summer. I'm a wedding planner based in Montana, and I make weekly videos on wedding planning tips and advice. As the first official video of 2025, today we're going to talk all about the wedding trends that we are expecting to see for the 2025 wedding season. So some of these trends are newer and some of them are just more continuation of what we saw this last year, or maybe kind of ramping up in popularity from the last couple of years. But number one is the continuation of having smaller guest counts. So this has kind of been an ongoing trend for the last few years. What was initially thought to be kind of a temporary trend based on circumstances that we were in a few years ago, this is something that has maintained its popularity and continues to be something that I see with a lot of my couples and progressively getting even more and more popular as the years go on. So having smaller, more intimate weddings, micro weddings, yes, but not just micro weddings. Having just smaller sub 100 guest counts is something that I see a ton of here in Montana, and that's something that we are seeing spreading across other locations as well, and just having a little bit more of an intimate experience rather than inviting every single person that you know to your wedding and feeling really overwhelmed with the guest count at your wedding. So if you're somebody that is not wanting to have a huge wedding, this is probably great news for you and something that I personally love to see at weddings as well. Next is sustainable weddings. Again, this is a trend that we have seen kind of been snowballing the last couple of years. Couples are being more aware of kind of the impact that their wedding has on the environment. Weddings can be a huge production, a huge event. And when you think of all of the decor and disposables, just everything that kind of goes into producing a wedding, there can be a lot of waste that is produced from a wedding as well. And so we're seeing couples be more cognizant of that and making decisions that are going to aid in kind of the environmental impact rather than purchasing a lot of items that they're not going to use again or things that are going to get thrown out, and rather opting for reusable decor, renting over purchasing items, and just being more aware of the impact their event is going to have on the environment. Number three, more bold and bright colors. Love to see this. Also the incorporation of patterns and kind of mismatched patterns, not necessarily full uniform wedding party attire, and just color and patterns as a whole when it comes to the wedding decor. So not as much of those muted color palettes as we have been seeing in the earth tones, and incorporating some more bright and vivid colors as well as bold colors, and incorporating patterns and textures into the overall wedding decor and aesthetic as well. Number four, it seems as the wedding ceremony arch and kind of the traditional arch is going away, and seeing more ground florals or an arch-like structure created from the floral installation itself. I'll include some photos, you can kind of see what I am referring to here, but using florals to kind of mark your altar for outdoor weddings rather than that kind of traditional arch that we've seen for years and years. When it comes to photography, we are seeing a lot more of that kind of documentary style photography, or as I've seen it referred to, paparazzi style photography, where it feels a lot more candid, that blurry photo style trend that we are seeing pretty recently. These are all things that we are expecting to see when it comes to documenting and photographing the wedding, a lot more capturing of raw and real moments and emotions rather than posed portraits, spending a lot of time on posed portraits and just capturing more real moments throughout the day. We're also seeing an increase in couples choosing to have videographers, having video coverage of the wedding day, again in a very similar style, as well as an increase in film. This is something that has really ramped up in the last year or so. And a lot of couples will hire photographers that will do not only digital, but also film photography as well to kind of have that nostalgic feel. Next, we are seeing smaller or non-existent wedding parties. A lot of my couples have been choosing to not have a wedding party at all, or just having one or two bridesmaids, groomsmen, whoever they might be on either side. I think this is just another nod to kind of making weddings more emotional, more intimate, more personalized, rather than the big big giant productions that they have been over the years. So smaller, more intimate, not only guest counts, but also smaller wedding parties or non-existent wedding parties. So if you're having trouble deciding on who you want to ask to be in your wedding, you can opt to not have anybody stand up there with you at all, not have anyone else walk down the aisle, and that's not going to be all that uncommon anymore. Similarly, we are seeing a very large increase in couples choosing to do private vows. So what this means is they are writing their own vows, but not sharing them during the public ceremony where all of your guests are going to be. First looks are basically standard at this point. Sure, there are some couples that still choose to not see each other before the wedding and have that first look moment be walking down the aisle. But for the most part, we are seeing a lot of this first look happening and being included into the overall wedding day schedule. And what a lot of couples are choosing to do during this time is to share their vows during that first look moment. This way, it's just, again, another very emotional, intimate moment, and also great for couples that are wanting to have personal vows and be very personalized and intimate and sharing those emotions with each other, but not wanting to do it in front of a ton of people. So if that sounds like you, again, you are in luck, and this is something you can incorporate into your wedding day. And your wedding planners, coordinators, and photographers will be very familiar with this. We are also seeing the return of the wedding cake. So less of the wedding dessert variety type tables, different kinds of desserts, cupcakes. I'm sure we will still be seeing that, but there is an increase back in having a more traditional, for lack of a better word, wedding cake at your wedding. And this doesn't have to be a giant multi-tiered wedding cake, but something that is on display, that is kind of serving some sort of decor piece. Whether you are cutting and serving that entire cake as your wedding dessert option or using sheet cake or some other type of dessert when it comes to serving dessert, the wedding cake is making a return as far as being the sole piece when it comes to aesthetics on a wedding dessert table. So I'm gonna do a whole nother video on wedding attire and wedding dresses and those trends separately, so I'll go into a lot more depth and detail there. I'll just touch on it very lightly in this video, but some attire and primarily wedding dress trends we are expecting to see in 2025 is the return of strapless dresses. So that is a huge trend that we saw on during Bridal Fashion Week this year. And a little bit less of that kind of traditional sweetheart style strapless and a lot more of the scoop necks and the cat eye neckline, giving a little bit more of a modern touch on a very classic style. We are also seeing the eruption of the basque waist, as I'm sure you have probably seen all over social media or wherever you are getting wedding dress inspiration. So that basque waist, or maybe even a corset piece over the top of a skirt or a dress, or kind of giving the illusion that it's a two-piece. Huge trend we are seeing for 2025. We are also seeing more and more brides choosing to have multiple looks. So having something that they're going to change into for the reception or for just dancing at the end of the night, or having like an after party after the wedding that there is a separate outfit for. Still an increase in having a second look at some point of the wedding for brides. And finally, we are seeing more relaxed hairstyles for brides. A little bit less of the kind of fancy updos, less tight curls, less really done up hairstyles, and a little bit more relaxed, soft waves, more glamour waves, loose updos, low updos. If there is kind of an updo style, it's a little bit more on the relaxed side as well. Keep an eye out for a future video. I will be doing all about what is out for 2025. As we've talked about a lot of the trends that we are expecting to see in 2025, there are also some things that we are expecting to see go away, and find out what things are no longer trends when it comes to the wedding world. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe to get weekly videos on wedding planning tips and advice, and we'll see you next week.